Okay, as promised, I'm gonna do this video all about what my issues were with the front suspension when I did a puck kit, like the spacers that you put on top of your struts, and then the issues that I still had even after doing full built, like, I guess coilovers is what they are on the front. The Rancho Quick Lift is what I chose because they were dirt cheap compared to anything else, but I will go through exactly what the issues that I had were. But to cut to the chase, at the end of the video, I will show you the actual issue and what was causing it the entire time, which was the spindles making contact with the steering stops that are on the lower control arms. In my previous video, I gave a little bit of a quick shot of them. The spindles have some damage on them, but I'll get to those at the end. But from there, yeah, I just want to hop under the truck and show you guys around. All right, so I'm gonna jump under this truck, but before I do, I'm gonna just show you the Ranchos that I have on here. I started out with the puck lift, and the issue that I was running into with the puck lift was I was getting a bunch of popping from the front end. So I assumed that that was probably because I did not flip these struts. So if you can see, the angle here for the contact point does not exactly match the angle of the front struts. So everything says that you're supposed to take the driver's side, put it over on the passenger, and vice versa. So that way when you put the puck on and the entire strut flips, these stay at the same angle. I did not do that, so I assumed that I had destroyed the lower bushings. That might not have been the case. They might actually have been fine, and the popping that I was hearing was something else. But nonetheless, I ended up buying Ranchos, which I'm overall pretty happy about. They do have pretty stiff springs in the front, so a lot stiffer than stock, especially for the 2.7. The engine is much lighter than what these were intended for. These are supposed to go on the 5.0 or the 3.5 or the 2.7, I guess, but they did add about 2.25, 2.5 inches of lift in the front. So with that being said, that was the first thing that I noticed, or thought that I noticed, was damaged bushings, but they may not have been damaged. So then the next thing that I jumped to conclusions about was binding with the spring, which you can tell that that's not the case. There's plenty of room around this, even at full droop. So you can see you got probably what, 2-3 inches or something of space there. I've lifted it up. They don't make contact at all. You can see there's nowhere. So that's what I was hoping was the issue, which means all I needed to buy was upper control arms. But I did not need upper control arms. Then I went down a whole rabbit hole of making sure that all the bolts were tightened, got it aligned twice, everything, just to make sure that that was not the case. I did have an aftermarket skid plate on the bottom of this as well. It was one of those metal ones. So the thing about the metal ones is there is not a soft connection between the front bolts and the rear bolts. So if they're solidly connected and that rear subframe right there ends up twisting or turning at a different rate than the main front crossmember on the frame rail here, if they end up moving at different rates, which of course they do, that will cause some popping. So I ended up replacing the skid plate, thinking that that might have been all the popping that I was hearing. It did fix some of the non-full turn suspension issues that I was noticing, but it did not fully go away. At full lock, it was still causing some popping. So then I thought maybe the amount of droop that I had was putting the CV axles into a weird bind and causing damage to them. I could not, for the life of me, get them to pop when I had any sort of motion on them. Now, I did just sit underneath and only kind of roll forward and backwards a little bit, so I might not have ended up hitting anything on the CV joint, but that is what I jumped to as far as a conclusion there. So I checked both of them, and that was not the case. So then I got kind of fed up with everything and trying to figure out what it was. So scoured the web, and someone was talking about your steering lockouts. And if you can see that, if it'll focus, probably not. It is pretty well damaged. That is like fully cupped out, just wore the tip off of it. You can actually see where it makes contact there. And that makes some sense to me as far as what would be making this loud popping noise. You can actually see where they make contact when it's turned to the left, where it makes contact when it turns to the right on the passenger side. So the general consensus on this is just put some lube on it. So far, it's fixed it, surprisingly enough. A little bit of grease, just some of that red tacky grease, seems to have fixed the issue. I do kind of want to put the skid plate back on and see if that causes any sort of popping, but realistically, the skid plate's not that big a deal. It's not going to save anything. This metal plate probably gets everything out of the way before it hits anything of value anyway. I'm not doing any heavy rock crawling. I don't see it being that necessary. Might be something I just post on Marketplace and sell and make back my $50 or whatever I paid for those things. So but yeah, those are the things that I ran through and what the issue actually ended up being. I believe that the issue was caused from the increased angle on this lower control arm. So I think it puts it in a weird spot compared to where the spindle is. At normal height, this control arm is much flatter. So I believe the extra 2 inches of lift puts that at an angle where it might rest slightly above and chip the corner off. So that's my assumption, but you can definitely see that that is what is causing the noise and the damage. So figured someone else might have some use for knowing that. So yeah, put some grease on it. Gets rid of the noise. Doesn't get rid of the damage, but makes it so that way you're not embarrassed pulling into a parking lot. So hope this helps someone. Thanks, guys.